So the suppliers that have been producing my lovely Clara Premium jute have sent me some more samples now of Preproduction. So let's see what they've sent me. One thing I have seen here already, that it is very, very well sealed up and packed. So bear with me while I fight my way into it. I've got some interesting bits and pieces here. They've sent me a bit of everything they've got. Now, the first one I'm not impressed by. It appears to be a braided synthetic. I mean, I'm sure it's all very nice if you like that sort of thing, but it's not my style of tying. Like all this stuff, beautifully made. So let's chuck that one on one side for a moment. Some more synthetics by the looks of it. Again, a braided, quite a thin cord here, probably about 3 or 4 millimetre. And it looks like they do a rainbow version of it as well. Again, probably too thin for our purposes, but at least it shows what they can make. So let's have a look at that. All very pastel-y and pretty. I should think possibly a version of that in a 5 or a 6 mil might be popular with the sort of Western bondage people, the sort of Instagram girl types. Horses for courses. Now let's get on to some other stuff here. Again, that's another braided one. I'm not going to bother pulling that out because, again, it's not going to be a great deal of interest to my sort of customers. Okay, so let's have a look. So we shall save the best till last. Sample E. That looks like it's a linen. Beautiful quality. And this is a sort of strange one because it's on the face of it's braided, but it seems to have a slight look as if there's a twist in it as well. I would imagine that that would be virtually indestructible. So, you know, if somebody wants a nice linen hemp rope that's a little bit unconventional, it's not stretchy. I don't know how it would look once it's been used. I don't know whether you'd get more of a sort of a look of a twist in it or not. Anyway, interesting. To be honest, I think I preferred the sample they sent me some while back, which was pretty much Clara Premium made out of linen hemp. The result of that was a really nice smooth hemp rope with a long twist, and the construction is 7 yarns made out of 5 yarns twisted together. It's a bit unusual, but the feel of it is, and look of it is very much like this sort of thing, which is what they're producing now in jute. So I've got 2 different samples here. One is a 6 and the other is a 5.5 mil. And I have to say I'm really liking the 5.5. It reminds me a lot more of the sort of Japanese Asanawa, the sort of premium priced stuff, but The reason we've done it like this is I mean, when I say done it like this, what I mean is this multi-yarn construction where you've got 5 very fine yarns twisted together to produce each yarn, which makes up, you've then got 7 of those in each strand, or depending on the thickness of the rope. I would imagine the 6mm probably got an extra strand in it. But the idea of that was to make the rope less prone to going out of balance and overstranding. I mean, as with any loose laid rope, it's obviously easy, particularly once it's been used quite a lot, to catch one of the strands with your finger if your handling's not up to scratch, which is why I suggest that in most cases these sort of very soft loose laid ropes are best left till you've got some decent rope handling. But the construction we've got here is designed to resist that, so it's a lot less prone to doing that, and it's not going to produce the yarn loops that you sometimes get in the Japanese rope, where after a bit of use some of the yarns start to protrude, particularly at the bite. All I can say is that Nina and I have been using the original batch for over 2 years now, and used it regularly, and it's still holding up. It's just a very tiny little bit of rebalancing, but you know, when you use rope as much as we do, it's inevitable. So yeah, this is very nice. Very little, very minor hairs on it. This is, well, the 5.5 is pretty much identical to, well, I'd say actually the batch we had last time was near the 6. And as I say, the sizes do seem pretty accurate. Rope does often tend to be a little bit over, purely because it tends to stretch with use and so on, and no manufacturer wants to be accused of selling their customers short. You know, in most situations outside shibari, people are buying rope for the strength, and you know, they're not hooked on having it exactly 6mm. You know, they can't feel tiny differences like we can. So you know, that's the issue. And also, it's really difficult to measure rope. When do you measure it? Do you measure it straight off the reel? Do you measure it when it's been treated? If it's been treated, what sort of treatment would you consider produces the standard? Because you could put the same rope through a washer dryer and it'll plump right up and it'll become quite springy. You can dry the same rope under tension and it'll stretch. So, you know, when do you measure it? And even if you take something like a vernier caliper and pass a piece of rope around a room, you won't get the same 2 answers from a dozen people. So it's not a precise art. It's really, at the end of the day, it's what feels right in your hands. I'd be happy to tie with either of these, to be honest. Really, I would say that the choice tends to be what feels right to you and what looks right on the person you're tying. You can tie larger bodies with thicker diameter rope and it still looks right. But if I tied somebody tiny like Nina or our model Sophie using a big thick rope, it would look out of proportion. And again, you know, if I tied a big person in a really thin rope, it would look like they were tied up with dental floss. So it's really down to the situation. What's the ideal diameter? I tend to tie smaller bodied people, so I do like the thinner rope. But even so, that's, you know, close, very close on a 6mm. It might be under, it might be over, but it's not much. I would say, you know, not a fraction of a millimetre either way. So there you have it. I'm going to be getting 40,000 or 50,000 metres, I can't remember, but a shed load of it. It'll be a few months. We're now January, so I don't know quite how long it'll take them to complete the manufacturer and ship it from India, because I'm getting this from source. It's the best way to get the best jute. A lot of rope manufacturers are scratching around trying to find decent yarn. My usual supplier, EU supplier, has been 2 or 3 months waiting for a delivery, and that's not the shipping time, that's just because they can't find yarn that meets my high standards. So it's been quite slow, and I've noticed with some other varieties of rope, I buy some generic rope in that isn't made specially for me, and I've recently had to refuse the latest batch because it's just so full of brown husky bits and so on. It's just unacceptable. I mean, it might be okay for tying your horse up or something, or whatever, I don't know, whatever people do with it, using it using it in your garden or something, but for our sort of use, nah. So looking forward to getting that new stock in. I think it'll fly out the door like the last lot. So yeah, it'll be on ESINEM-Rope.com as usual. Some stuff I put on eBay, but probably not specialised stuff like this, so ESINEM-Rope.com is always the best place to come. And yep, subscribe to our channel, smash that like button as everybody says. It helps us with YouTube and their search algorithms and so on. So right, anyway, bye bye, that's all for now, and I'll have some more news because they are looking at a lot more samples that I've sent them, including some of the best Japanese rope, and they're going to do their best go at reproducing that or even better. Based on this, I have every hope. So anyway, that's enough from me. Bye bye. Have a good new year.